Hey, this is Anthony Cesare with SuccessForYourSongs.com, and in this video we're going to be looking at how Dua Lipa's Levitating uses rests to create a super catchy melody. Okay, so let's take a look at the song. I've got a link for it on the screen so you can check the whole thing out there if you'd like. So we'll look through at the verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus, and we'll see what happens differently in those three sections so that you can see what's happening with the rests here and how it makes the interesting melody. And I find this melody to be super catchy. This is one of those songs that I just had stuck in my head for days on end. So I think it could be a good thing to look at some of the stuff that they're doing here so that you can apply some of this to your own music. So we'll take a look at the verse first. I should also mention too that obviously it's not only rests that are making this melody interesting. There's a bunch of contributing things, but I do want to focus on the rests in this video because I do think it's interesting what they did with them here. So we can see the melody in the verses. It's totally packed out. It's just got this pattern of 16th notes that just fill out the measure. And if you don't read music, that's fine. I'm going to try and explain this in a way that you can keep along with anyway. But basically, there are a lot of fast notes happening. Each one repeats 4 times, and that's kind of creating the motif. And they're downward that happens throughout this motif. So that's setting up the motif in the verses. When you come into the second part of that motif, that continues. And then at the end, it just wraps up with a rest. And then some of the notes at the very end of this line just get a little bit longer. So let's take a listen to that so you can hear what I'm talking about.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I can take you for a ride.
So you can hear, for the most part, that's all those 16th notes that just continually descend until those last couple of notes, which are a little bit longer. And then we end on the rest at the end of those 2 measures. So here's that again.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I can take you for a ride.
And then that leaves space for that little hand clap that happens at the end there. That rest lets that hand clap live there because the vocals duck out. So the verse repeats that several times. It does change up a little bit. At one point, those 16th notes end up going up just to change things up and not make it too repetitious. But for the most part, that motif is those 16th notes, so really filling up that measure. And then after the end of the 2 measures, there's that little bit of rest that happens at the end there. So now let's take a look at what happens in the pre-chorus. So let's listen to that section first.
You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so what's interesting about this, obviously there's a lot of contrast that's created between this section and the verse that preceded it. And now some of the notes are getting longer here, but there is a mix of 8th and 16th notes, so it's not completely just the length and the quickness of the notes that's changing. But notice what's happening with the rests. On the downbeat, we get a rest, and the third beat, which are always the 2 strongest beats of a measure in 4/4 time. So that's creating this contrast with what we had before in the verse, where the verses were just totally packed out with notes. And as a result, every beat was getting hit with a note. Now we come into this pre-chorus section.
You want me, I want you, baby.
And by the way, that rest that's at the 1 and 3 beat, that's leaving space for that guitar to come in the same way the rest in the verses was leaving space for the hand claps before. So listen to that.
You want me, I want you, baby.
You can hear that guitar popping through there.
You want me, I want you.
So it's a cool opportunity when you don't have a vocal to pop something else up that can be interesting. But this is cool because as we had these notes just totally packing out our verses, now we have the most stressed beats of our pre-chorus that just omit notes for the vocal melody entirely. So that's creating this contrast. Okay, so then next we go into our chorus and listen to what happens here.
I got you, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
So those big gaps that happened in the pre-chorus with the rests, where the melody was just completely omitted there, now what's happening is those stresses are getting hit the hardest. The 1 and the 3 in the chorus, those are the most important notes now of the chorus. By omitting them in the pre-chorus and creating this deficit there, now when those come in the chorus, those are, I mean, they're usually the most accented, but now we feel that even more because they were missing in the melody in the section before. So listen to that again, how it's on the words, you, I got you, and then moonlight, you're my starlight. So you, moon, your, and star. Listen to how those are hitting the hardest.
I got you, moonlight, you're my starlight. I need.
So normally they would be the most highlighted in that section, but that's especially so since in the previous section, like I said, they were omitted. And even that contrast would happen in the verses where the verses were pretty evenly distributed with those 16th notes. So that was very different there too. Okay, so hopefully that information helps you out. If you're looking for a lot more ways to improve your melody writing, I have a couple of free cheat sheets that you can download by tapping on the screen here. And if you have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel to stay updated on our latest songwriting videos, you can tap our logo on the screen for that. And I'll also have links for that stuff below this video. So thank you for checking this one out, and I will talk to you in the next one.